Cuba?
I'm not going to get in front of the president and Secretary Rubio, because if you actually look at their foreign policy moves, honestly, it's been exquisite. It's been very good. And the other thing I will say is that you should not conduct foreign policy, no disrespect, but you shouldn't conduct foreign policy through the press. That's like giving your game plan to the other coach. Why would you do that? Bill Belichick is not giving away the game plan to any other team in the AFC East. We know how that one worked out when he was coaching the Patriots. So you don't do that. You actually conduct military affairs and diplomacy very quietly, very circumspect. You're very serious. And I think that the President and Secretary Rubio have done a phenomenal job, especially reasserting the Monroe Doctrine. I guess we're calling it the Donroe Doctrine now, but reasserting that in the Western Hemisphere. Because the truth is, we have not done that with previous presidents. And what it's led to is China influence and Russian influence in our hemisphere, obviously in Cuba, 90 miles off our coast.
Should the president seek congressional approval, and would you support it if he were to take military action?
Congressional approval for what?
For any military action in Cuba?
The president is well within his powers under the War Powers Act. He has 60 days to conduct military affairs he thinks that are in the nation's interest, and I support the president to do that. Let me be very clear. There are not 435 commanders-in-chief, or 535 if you include the Senate. There is one commander-in-chief. That's Donald Trump. If he needs to come to us for approval of anything, that is because he has exhausted the time allotments under the War Powers Act. Federal law today, and there are some people who think that that is actually unconstitutional, because the people of the United States of America, they elect one commander-in-chief, and that one commander-in-chief has the responsibility for dictating how these military affairs will go.
Iran conflict, just really quick about Iran.
Yeah.
So we know from polling it's wildly unpopular across the political spectrum
With who?
with Americans. But
What polling are you looking at?
we also have prices, so we have gas prices, housing prices, the affordability issue. I know you've spoken about this in Florida. What is your plan if you became governor to actually help mitigate against those rising prices?
Well, first thing, let's talk Iran first. You compacted a lot of things in there, because rising housing prices in Florida or in the United States have nothing to do with what's going on in Iran.
Then let's stay on Iran.
So I want to. That's why I'm saying I want to unpack it. First, when it comes to Iran, actually, the president is getting wide support for this. What the American people don't want to see is another endless war. The American people don't want another Iraq. They don't want another Afghanistan, but they do not want the Iranian regime, because that is a theocratic dictatorship and a terrorist dictatorship. They don't want to see that regime have nuclear weapons. The American people are very clear on that. Polling has dictated that time and time again. When it comes to the mission, the president and Secretary Rubio have been very clear about the mission in Iran. But again, they're not going to dictate the step-by-step points with you guys in the press. They're not going to do that, because that telegraphs to the, well, now it's the fifth Ayatollah or whatever Ayatollah they're on right now. It dictates that to them, so they're not going to do that. Now, with respect to gas prices, I agree with the governor. We shouldn't do anything with the gas tax right now, because this conflict is about, 24 days old? 24 days is what we're talking about. In my conversations with the president and his team, we don't anticipate this going long. So what's going to happen is when hostilities wind down, you're actually going to see the spot price for oil come down. The reason why the spot price for oil is so high is because the Iranians are blocking the Strait of Hormuz to retaliate against, frankly, the entire world, because America did the right thing to stop them from getting nuclear warheads. So we think those prices will come down. Now, if you want to talk affordability.
And that's the through line, because folks are feeling those gas prices. And the through line is, oh my gosh, another thing at our disposable income.
We're all feeling it. And trust me, I understand that. We're all feeling it. We were finally getting relief from the Biden years when that economy was crazy and prices on everything were through the roof. We're finally getting some relief. Tax refunds are significantly higher because of the president's agenda that Republicans supported alone. That's why people are getting more money in their tax refunds, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, a major tax deduction on Social Security. Those are all good things, but I would tell people that when it comes to gas, this is temporary, because I don't anticipate this is going to be a very long military conflict. This is temporary. Those gas prices will come down. The markets will reset. That'll be a good thing. And then the second thing, when it comes to housing, that's a much longer strategy. And in Florida, what we're going to do is we are actually going to shrink the timetable for permitting homes. It takes 2 years to get a permit to build a home in our state, way too long. And those 2 years are not free. It adds to the cost of housing. It adds to the cost of renters. If you're going to build a multi-unit residential dwelling, right? You're talking an apartment building. You build one of those, it takes 2 years, 2.5 years to get through permitting. Those 2.5 years aren't free. The contractor and the developer are just holding those costs, and they pass that on to the person who ends up running that apartment complex, and they pass that on to the renters. We want to shrink those timetables down to get government costs out of the way so that you can actually have more affordable housing at any level in Florida. That's our solution.
On education, what do you say to parents in Fort Myers that bought into the school choice, signed up for Optima, and then it never opened and felt tricked by your family and the school and the promise of this
actually,
choice?
First of all, nobody was tricked. Number one, the school did not open because, quite frankly, they couldn't get through the permitting timelines. I was just talking about that. They couldn't get through the permitting blocks, and the school did not open. The parents were all notified of that. Then, I believe Optima, and actually the lady's right over there, she can answer that one. But then what happened is that they ended up finding another provider. They're opening the school right now. All those parents are back. They have seats. They're slated to open this August. So the news out there trying to say that this is some big scandal, quite frankly, is lying. It's not a big scandal. Unfortunately, having started a charter myself, been a part of that, there are times where a charter doesn't open because they can only open on one day, and that's the first day of school. It's not like another business or the Miami Herald or anywhere else where you can open up your building kind of whenever you want. You can only open on one day, and so they weren't able to make that construction deadline because of the hurricane that hit Southwest Florida and other permitting delays. And so what ended up happening is my wife's company actually found another provider. They're opening this August. The seats are full and people are happy.
All right, let's go. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go back to